This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Welcome to Community Close-Up. I'm your host, Sharen Skelly, and today's guest is Laura Wood. And Laura is the founder of Owen Sound Waste Watchers. And we've got a lot to talk about today. We celebrate Earth Day. It should be Earth Month, I guess, in April. And your organization has a lot to do with, saving the earth and keeping it clean and teaching everybody about how they can do that too. And you do a lot of, you have a lot of initiatives going on. I've been reading your Facebook page, and you've got a lot of projects that you have initiated in our community, and everybody can participate in them. You don't have to be a real, fanatic. You just have to, implement them in your own home. And we really should be doing a little bit every day to keep our earth, keep our earth going, actually.
Yes.
But, there are things that they should be second nature for
Yes.
all of us.
Yes.
So how did you get involved in Owen Sound Waste Watchers anyway?
Well, actually, I got inspired by a young woman by the name of Michelle Byrne, and she runs an organization called A Greener Future in and around the Great Lakes. And she started with a few litter pickups. So I think I discovered her on Facebook or a CBC program, and I reached out to her through Messenger, and she said, come along to one of our events. So I did, and was really inspired by this group of young people who were picking up litter specifically around the water. And I thought there must be a way that we can bring this to Owen Sound, because the water is so important to Owen Sound. So in the fall of 2000, and I believe it was 18, we had our first litter pickup around the East Harbor area and picked up a whole bunch of stuff. And the following spring, around Earth Day, Rochelle and her husband came up and participated in an event that we had in a different area in Owen Sound. And she sort of inspired us to start educating the education process about what people can do. You were chatting about you don't need to be a fanatic. Well, what's interesting about it is once you make one little change in your life, then it snowballs and you start making more changes in your life. So Owen Sound Waste Watchers created a website that talks about the 7 things you can do, because we know everyone's different, right? Everybody, and that's what's so great about humanity. Everybody has different likes and dislikes. But in the various areas of your life, there are ways that you can reduce your footprint on this planet. And a big way of doing that is through how we live each day, what we buy, what we throw out. So the other funny story is that we thought that we would lose weight if we were walking around picking up trash. So we kind of did a cheeky spin on Weight Watchers in Owen Sound Waste Watchers. But what we discovered, like most mothers do, walking around doesn't really reduce waste, but it does reduce litter.
Yeah, it increases your appetite.
Yes, no. I must admit that Rochelle taught us that picking up litter is not just about making the harbor more beautiful, it's raising your own personal awareness. So every time I would pick up something, like I used to purchase Harvest Crunch cereal bars. But then when you start picking up that foil plastic wrapper a dozen times, it sinks in that perhaps there might be a better snack than something that is wrapped in something that can't be used again. So really start your journey about thinking of what our footprint is and how we can make changes in our life.
Mm-hmm.
You were
So
talking.
that's how you started.
That's how I started.
Yeah. And then what happened?
Well, we met more and more people who were interested and people with other ideas. So as you mentioned, we always have a lot going on. There always seems to be new ideas. Some of them we do every year. So, for example, we in the month of April, we are supporting a Greener Futures National Butt Blitz campaign. So they have a goal of picking up 1 million butts across Canada during the month of April. And I was privileged enough to be part of their pickup this past weekend outside of Owen Sound, where 160,000 cigarette butts were picked up in one day by a whole bunch of volunteers. So that was pretty exciting to see. And so we support their effort in Owen Sound. This is our second official year supporting it. We have who we call a Butt Blitz champion, and that's Anne Finley Stewart. She is sort of the central volunteer. She volunteers bring cigarette butts that they've picked up to her location, and then we pick them up and we organize shipping them off to TerraCycle for recycling.
Now, what happens with them?
So basically, they get shipped off to this company, TerraCycle Inc., started in the States and has rolled into Canada. And there's actually a area or a facility in Fergus, Ontario, which is kind of neat. It's close to home, where we ship these cigarette butts, and they have a facility where they strip out all the basic elements from the cigarette butts. And one of the dirty little secrets about cigarette butts is it's got a lot of plastic in it. So they take the tobacco projects out of that and they compost those appropriately. They take the paper and they compost that appropriately. But then the plastic, they actually isolate that and sell it to a manufacturer that puts it into a form that can be reused. And I'm assuming they put them down into pellets like most recycling is for plastic. And primarily what they're doing is they're creating things like composite plastic decking and outdoor chairs. So, and picnic tables, if you ever see ones that aren't plastic, part of the plastic in there is from cigarette butts. So, I mean, it's all cleaned up. No one needs to worry about that by the time that is every plastic that goes through the recycling process that manages to be lucky enough to get into the recycling process is sterilized and cleaned and whatever, and broken down into its basic components and then used again. So it's a pretty neat thing. Most people don't understand a couple things about cigarette butts. I mean, some of us, I was a smoker in my younger ages, but some of us go, it's icky. But besides being icky, I don't personally find it icky. There's a lot of chemicals in cigarette butts that pollute the environment. It is not something that naturally biodegrades into this lovely thing. So I was speaking with someone earlier today about the fact that cigarette butts are viewed as the only acceptable litter. Well, they really shouldn't be, because there's a lot in there. It's not just the old-fashioned tobacco with a little bit of paper wrapped around it. There's filters, plastic filters in there. There is a soft sort of cottony type of thing, which is made out of plastic as well in the filter. There's that. And then also that they can be recycled. So they really shouldn't go into the garbage. And that's usually where cigarette butts go if they're not recycled. They either get into our water, they get into our garbage containers, and then into landfill. That's all going back into the earth, or the water. So that's not really great. So anyways, that's what we're doing in April. The Butt Blitz last year in Owen Sound, we picked up just shy of 8,000 butts during the month of April and shipped them off for recycling. I like to say that we pull more than our fair share in Owen Sound. We're only 5% of the population of Canada, and yet we picked up 8,000 butts. It's well more than 5% of a million. So we're really pleased about that and hope that we can pick up and recycle more than 8,000 this year. So that's April.
Yeah. I used to live at Sauble, and I remember you'd go to the beach and people would smoke and then put the cigarettes out on the beach.
I know. And the thing is, we're running some short videos on social media this month, and one of them talks about the fact that when they go into the water, they can be mistaken for food. And we've all seen those horrendous pictures of animals the stomachs of animals and what is in there, whether it's small plastic or cigarette waste and whatever. And we've got one that's got a little quacking sound in it, because of course in Owen Sound, around Harrison Park, in the past, and I'm sure today, even on the river, we see ducks, and we see lots of little baby ducks. So we say, don't do that. You don't hurt the baby ducks, because they don't know any better. They might think it's food. So anyways, that's April, and that is, we're pleased to be involved in that. And then, as you said, Earth Day is coming up and there is a big Earth Day event at the farmers market on, I believe it's the 22nd of April, and Owen Sound Waste Watchers is going to have a table there. And we are going to be not just talking about the butt blitz, because probably won't have cigarette butts there. It's not very pleasant, and there's going to be, young children there, whatever. But we will be talking about a new initiative that we've launched this year called Owen Sound Reduces. And it's a window sticker program for our local merchants to just highlight what they are doing to reduce single-use food wrapping or any sort of single-use packaging waste in our city. I say Owen Sound does more than their fair share when it comes to picking up cigarette butts, and that is true. But as people in North America, we also do more than our fair share about generating waste. In Owen Sound, I believe it was 2020, what have I got here? Over 2,000 metric tons of garbage and 1,800 metric tons of recycling were collected by the city of Owen Sound. And in addition to concerns about running out of landfill space and possible future pollution from these sites, one of the hard facts about recycling is that only about 10% of it actually gets effectively recycled. So Owen Sound Waste Watchers is all about teaching people about the fact that if they make a little change in their life, it can have a big change on their what they dispose of, whether it's recycling and through garbage.
That's right. Now, when you said you're going to give the stickers out to the merchants that use or promote single-use containers or products, not single-use products, but single-use packaging, can you give us, I don't mean the merchants, but examples of single-use packaging, that sort of thing?
Well, the obvious one is bags. So there is currently, we're in the transition year of a new federal bill where they're banning 6 specific single-use plastic items, and one of them was shopping bags. So anybody that's been shopping recently will have seen a couple of changes. They will have seen merchants offering paper bags. Remember those old paper bags that we used to get our groceries in? I can tell you they used to be a lot thicker than the paper bags that we get now. Or you can buy reusable bags. And we've been able to do that for years, and we've always complained about how many reusable bags we have in a trunk of our car or in our back door, at our back door. But now it seems that some of the stores are producing more plastic-like bags and charging for that. And my sense is that they're probably not doing that at a loss. So Owen Sound Waste Watcher talks about bringing your own bags. So bring your own bags. So that's a perfect example. And that seems like a simple thing to do. And it takes a while to remember to do that, right? Even when you get something in one of their bags that they charge you money for, or in a paper bag, it means that energy has been used to produce that item. And it still is kind of a single-use item, as opposed to if you bring your own bags, then you are using something over and over again. And we're not using, we're not having a negative impact on the environment to produce these things. So that's where the whole idea of reduces comes in. That's one example. Another example would be the classic, bring your coffee container to be refilled, as opposed to saying, oh, this is fine, this is recyclable. Well, it may not get recycled. And there was energy used to produce that cup in the first place. So if you bring your cup and you use it 10 times, 20 times, 100 times, all of that energy is saved for producing all of these compostable cups or recyclable cups in the future. What's another item? Well, I have gone to the local Chinese restaurant, and I always order too much, which I'm delighted with, because that means I'll have lunch the next day.
Yeah.
I bring my glass containers with me in a bag. And so instead of getting their takeout container, I bring my own. Honestly, I know where mine has been. I know mine is clean, right? And so I will put the extra stuff in it and bring it home. That's another example of bring your own. That may seem fanatical. I don't know if it is really. I describe it as being mindful of everyday things that we do that can have an impact on the planet.
Right. Now, I also read something about recycling. Well, we can recycle things that we use at home by bringing them to merchants. So I know one thing. I'm a retired nurse, so I always think of healthcare. We always recycle our medications, right? We don't. I know some people used to flush them down the toilet.
Oh no!
I mean, that wasn't that long ago. People would do that.
And I'm sure our waste management, our water waste management people would say, oh no, because that means that they have to do extra work to clean that stuff out of it.
But so you should take them to your pharmacy. Right?
Yeah.
So that's recycling things from home. And that means anything, eye drops, vitamins, all kinds of things. But we can recycle things that we have in our, like beauty products and stuff like that. So can you tell us about how you can do things like that?
So we did run a campaign with 4 local downtown merchants in the month of January, and we collected only 80 items, but there was a general awareness that there are certain types of plastic containers that are not recyclable. And it's usually because they have multiple types of plastic in the packaging, whether it's an eyedropper or a different type of glass or whatever. So there is a program. It is actually run through TerraCycle. Again, they don't just do cigarette butts. They do all sorts of different programs. And it's through various merchants. So TerraCycle does have a stream where you as an individual can buy one of their containers and send it back. Kind of expensive. And perhaps and I haven't done it, but, people who might use a whole bunch of one product might feel compelled to do that. I have not. I've gone the reducing route. However, they do run one for beauty products, and they've been expanding that to businesses. So I just learned through a friend the other day that Winners has a box from TerraCycle that you can take your beauty products that are not recyclable in Owen Sound and take them to Winners. And I also know that Walmart has got that program, and they have bought into that program nationally through TerraCycle. So it doesn't cost you as the consumer anything. When you're out shopping, you can take those lotions, lipstick containers, they're not recyclable, some of your other makeup, when it's empty, to these locations and drop them off. As I mentioned before, there is an issue. Municipalities have a looming issue of running out of landfill space. And no longer is it acceptable for communities to be putting our waste onto some big ship and sending it halfway around the world. Harbors have been closed. China has been closed. Then it went into Thailand and Bali and other sort of smaller Indonesia countries. And what has happened there is just sickening with the amount of garbage that has come from all over the world. So the eye of the world is on this problem, and other communities don't want our garbage. They have their own garbage, or they have lovely spaces that they don't want garbage in. So it really behooves us as individuals to kind of take responsibility for what we are creating. It's a bit of a soapbox soapbox moment, but it's
No,
kind
but
of
it's
the way
true.
that I look at it. And I think that we're going to hear more and more from municipalities saying this is costing more and more money because the easy ways of disposing of litter are closing down, or the cheaper
Mhm.
ways.
And we also need to compost more.
Yeah.
And I think I talked to you about this, but my mother and stepfather lived in, and my father, before I had a stepfather, my father passed away, they lived in Pembroke. And it seemed like years ago, they used to have this roadside or curbside composting, and they had their little buckets, the green buckets, and they do all the composting. And that was a long time ago. And there was no big deal. Whenever we'd visit, everybody would compost whatever they had off their plate. And why aren't we doing it? I
Well,
don't know.
we don't have that here. I know that the city is looking at that right now, and they have been talking about it for quite a while. If you
Mm-hmm.
come from a different community, you're mentioning Peterborough, we're having people move into Owen Sound from other communities who are equally surprised that we do not have green bin. There's a few of us who are, I call myself a soil nerd. So I love composting. I mean, I actually love composting more than growing plants because it seems to work every time, whereas I don't have as much of a green thumb when it comes to growing things. But in any case, so in our household, we have been composting for years, and I am a bit of a nerd about it. But I understand that some people don't have the time, some people don't have the space. It takes a little bit of learning how to do it, and it does add an element into your day-to-day routine. So the city does offer composters for sale if you go on their website. And I know that they are considering expanding education in this area, but at the same time, they are doing an extensive study right now about what it would take to have green pickup, because more and more people here are asking for it. Do you know, in our garbage, about 30 to 40% of it is food waste, which is kind of shocking. But, there are peels and there are things that we wouldn't eat. Now, the problem with that in the garbage is that gets put into, let's say, a green garbage bag, and then it gets buried in landfill. And when it's buried in landfill, there's no oxygen there. And when food waste breaks down without oxygen, it creates methane gas. And methane gas is, up to 26 times more dangerous than what we all talk about, which is carbon dioxide.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, communities looking to move more of their waste out of landfill are doing the planet a huge favor. I mean, we're all talking about we need to reduce the number of cars and we need to get electric cars. And I'm looking at it that every citizen is eating food, and we are putting this stuff into landfill.
That's right.
Which will create gas. And we all know that gas is going to escape no matter what they say about landfill sites. In X number of years, that gas is going to rise out and go into our atmosphere. So I'm a bit of a, soil nerd. I love composting. I don't know. I'm not sure whether I would use the green bin if they had it in the city, because I love composting so much. But I also know that I am not the average bear in the city of Owen Sound.
Mm-hmm.
And more people want opportunities to participate in this program, the more they learn about food waste. We talk about smelly food waste. Boy, oh boy, we don't have a problem with stockpiling our garbage, our one bag of garbage month to month. Sometimes we have one bag of garbage every 6 weeks because nothing smells in our garbage.
Mm-hmm.
It can sit out in hot weather and no animal is ever going to attack our garbage because the food waste does not go into it. Whereas,
and not only that, we can do all kinds of things like, we were talking about throwing our cosmetics, things that we can't recycle here into the bins at Walmart and at Winners. But we can also, I don't know if we call it, recycle our clothing. Like we can take them to consignment shops and we can buy used. Like I know in our household, we buy used. Our sofa, a lot of our stuff is used, gently used, but
Yes.
you don't always have to buy new. And with children, used clothing, you can buy used clothing, used toys, used all kinds of stuff.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's just keep, it goes around and it eventually comes back.
Exactly.
But
I was just gonna say that, Sharon, that it does sort of go in cycles, doesn't it? Because I remember when our kids were younger, we were so blessed that there was a little girl about a year older than our daughter, and she would get great stuff. And so now that I'm a grandparent, I see our children are doing the same thing, that parents are sharing clothing, which is fantastic. There's lots of toys that are purchased at Goodwill, which is amazing, because kids lose interest in toys within a week, and so it's kind of nice to be extending the life of toys. And I have to tell you, this shirt I'm wearing right now is from the wonderful consignment shop that we have in Owen Sound right now called Wildflower. Yes. And that's a busy store, I'll tell you. And she has fabulous stuff. She's one of the merchants who signed up for our sticker program. So if you visit it, you can see the sticker right in the window. There. And she talks about, that's basically what they do. Her saying, Lori's saying, is sustainable style. And so by us buying gently used clothing, then we're extending the life, and we're really honoring the energy that was used to make that product.
That's right. And I agree. And with the 3 grandchildren here, they buy gently used, and you can go to the library and borrow toys, and the libraries now aren't just places to borrow books. You can borrow all kinds of stuff, and as adults, we can, download on I like reading a book, but a tablet, you can, that you don't have to buy everything new now. I guess our time is coming to a close, but we've just brushed the surface really about what you do at Owen Sound Waste Watchers. And if you really want to learn more, you can go on the website or the Facebook page, or you can visit your table at the Earth Day event, which is coming up. And you can learn more about all kinds of initiatives. Go to all the other tables too and see what's happening. But really, just remember to reduce, reuse, and try to recycle. Find your passion and just get interested. Exactly. And join us again here on Community Close-Up. You'll learn all kinds of things. Remember, it's your community, so take part and enjoy all of our Rogers programming. Thanks again for joining us here, and see you again here on Rogers TV. Bye for now.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
You can enjoy Disney Plus on Ignite TV. Just say Disney Plus into your Ignite TV voice remote and stream Disney Plus movies and series like